compound interest. So we've looked at simple interest. So remember, simple interest is based on the original amount in your account or the original amount you've borrowed. Okay? Most cases, most establishments, either banks or people that loan you money, actually deal with compound interest. Now, the difference between simple interest and compound interest is that compound interest, the value of the interest is going to change each year. So for simple interest, we were able to find a percentage amount, and if it was being borrowed or in an account for 10 years, we would multiply that by 10. If we were trying to find if it was been in there for only 2 years, we'd find the amount and multiply by 2. For compound interest, it's different every year because it depends on the value in the account at the time. So one year you might get $1 interest. The next year you may get $1.10. Could you not draw on the table, please? Get an eraser and erase it.
How is there
It doesn't mean that you have to make it even bigger. So, how is it calculated? Well, the best thing to do is to go through an example. So an account is opened with $1,000 and is offering 10% interest PA. What did PA mean again? Per annum, good, which means per year. If the money was in the account for 3 years, how much would you have in the account by the end of it? So, if something's offering you 10% interest, it means, is your account going up or down in money?
Up.
Up. Okay, so it's offering interest, so it's going to go up. So that means that we are increasing our amount by 10%. Do you all understand that?
Yes.
So 10% interest means an increase of 10%. Well, how do I increase something by 10%? What do I do to the amount? What's the decimal multiplier? Do you remember that phrase? What's the decimal multiplier? Amber? Natasha? 1.1. Awesome. 1.1. Do we remember how we got 1.1? No. Only a couple of people remember. If I wrote 1.10, would that help? Hannah FL, how did we get 1.1 or 1.10?
I'm pretty sure you divided it or times it by 100.
Which one
Didn't we
is
move
it?
the decimal twice?
We do move the decimal, but is that how we get the 1.10?
I know we do that when we're increasing, but I'm not exactly sure how.
So we've increased it from which percentage? Which is our starting percent, Sienna?
100%.
Which is our starting
100%.
100%. So we've increased it by 10. What percentage do we now have?
Oh, 110.
110%. And then we need to change this decimal. So it means we divide it by 100 and we get 1.1 or 1.10. Okay, ladies, I don't need to be a grouch, but we do need to try and remember this. Okay, I've been through this now several times. We need to start remembering this. We went through this originally when we were learning percentage increase and decrease. Then we looked at it again when we were looking at reverse percentages. Now we're looking at it again. And not enough people are remembering that, which means that makes me think that not enough people are practicing these things anywhere else. Okay? So, if we're going to remember stuff, we have to practice questions. Now, if I don't set you work on it, it means that if you want to do well in any of your maths, you're going to need to say, right, I'm actually going to try a couple of questions today. Miss Harrison hasn't said it to me, but I'm going to have a go at some questions. Miss Harrison may be impressed that she gives you merits if she sees you doing this regularly. Okay? So maybe it will be worth, if you're trying to claw into a new merit level, that you may want to be doing a little bit of extra work and impress me with that. Alright, so multiplying the 1,000 by 1.10 is going to tell me how much money I've got in the account after year 1, because I've increased it by 10%. Okay? What is 1,000 multiplied by 1.1?
1,100.
1,100. Okay? So for year 2, to find out how much money is in the account after year 2, we would have 1,100 multiplied by 1.1, because it's still 10%, but this time it's 10% of a bigger number. Okay? And so this is going to give us an even bigger number. So what's 1,100 multiplied by 1.1?
1,210.
1,210. Okay? Now, there's no real tricks here. Year 3, what are we going to do for year 3? And squared?
We do 1,210 times 1.10.
That is exactly what
Which
you want.
is 1,300.
All right, my board's Okay, so we've now got those values there. So we can see that after the 3 years, we went from having just $1,000 to $1,331. That's not bad, is it? It's just 3 years and not really doing it. And the reason is because we're finding 10% of a bigger number each time. Now, doing this, it's a real palaver, isn't it? We're doing the same thing. We'll have to write the number over and over again. So what we could have done is said, right, we've got that $1,000 and we multiplied that by 1.10. And then that answer, we multiplied that by 1.10. So I haven't worked it out, I've just said that I've kept that answer there. And then for year 3, I multiplied that answer by 1.10. Do you all see what we're doing? Yes? Now, do I actually need my brackets here, or when we multiply, is it really necessary? Okay, so I don't actually need my brackets here. So what I've got is 1,000 multiplied by 1.1 multiplied by 1.1 multiplied by 1.1. Okay? Again, that's really not great, is it? How else can we write that? Is that Hannah FL? Not that. Yes.
1.1 cubed.
Nice. So we've got 1,000 multiplied by 1.1 or 1.0 cubed. Okay? So that's how we can do that. Now, let's have a little look, see where these numbers came from. So, the 1,000 was obviously our principal amount we invested. Okay? Our 10% interest. So that 10% interest is how we were able to establish this value here. Okay, so that indicated it was a 10% interest. And the 3 told us what?
That it was 3 years.
3 years, good. So that was the number of years. Now, I like to go through this step-by-step method because hopefully it might help remind you and explain where we get our formula from, because there is a special formula that sometimes people forget it. So if we go to the next page, this is our fancy. Now that's a geometric sequence, it's kind of neither here nor there, don't worry too much about that. So A, now remember for simple interest, we were able to find just the interest. For compound interest, what we do is we find the future value of the amount. So if it was worth $1,000, we now know at the end of the 3 years it was worth 1,331. So we know the future value. How much interest did we actually earn here? Be careful. So it was 1,000. We've now got 1,331. How much interest was it? Well, I say be careful, but it's not a trick question. Hannah?
It would be 331.
Yeah. Hey, how'd you get that?
I got it because it started off with 1,000 and then it had 330.
So what did you do with the numbers? You
Them away.
subtracted them, yeah?
Yeah.
So we had 1,331, subtract 1,000. So that meant that it must have been $331 interest, okay? So in a similar way to with the simple interest questions is you have to read the questions carefully, you have to do the same with composite ones. Are they asking you for how much money is in the account or what the future value is? Or are they asking you just what the interest is? Okay? So going back to this formula, so A represents the future value, P is the principal amount of the present value, which is what we're using. It's 1 plus R, okay? Now, this 1 plus R represents the decimal multiplier. So, for example, if it was 8%, that's an 8. What would my decimal multiplier be? It was 8%. N squared?
1.108.
Good girl, 1.08. If it was 15%, what would my decimal multiplier be? I should have more hands up now. Eliana?
1.15.
Good, 1.15. If it was 2.5%, be careful here. Sarah?
1.25.
Nope.
2.5.
Nope. Sienna?
1.025.
Good girl, 1.025. Okay? So, our value here, this 1 plus R, is always going to be our decimal multiplier. And then N is the number of years that's invested. Okay? So using that formula, we're going to say how much would be in the account at the end of 5 years if $6,000 was invested. Okay? So, our formula is going to be 6,000, that's our P, multiplied by, what's our decimal multiplier this time? Georgie?
1.06.
1.06. And what's our number of years, Amy?
5.
So that's our power here, yes? So 6,000 multiplied by 1.06 to the power of 5. Has anyone got an answer for me? Yeah, that's correct.
8,029.35.
You say that like I know the answer. I don't know the answer. I hope someone else has got that same value.
Yeah.
Yeah. Awesome. Great job. Are we happy with compound interest, ladies?
Yes.
Okay. So it's a slightly different formula. You've got to be careful. To, as I said, what's the question say? How much is in the account or how much interest did you get? Georgie, you have a question?
Would you always increase?
Yes. Yeah, we never do the increase.
Point?
We never do 0 point, correct. And square?
Is there a dollar sign in front of it?
Yes.
Do you know how to write the yen sign properly, just like you do the Y in
No, I think it's this, isn't it?
Yeah.
Okay, I was right.
Okay, so